Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to work on a basic beginner application on Unity 3D using C# code. Basically what we're trying to achieve is this. Okay, so if I run this is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to learn how to get a value from a TextMesh Pro input field and then pass that value to a text or to anything that you really want to display it in. So if I had to put in my name here, click submit, you see it says hello JSON. I could also do something like reset. That obviously clears that name out of the variable, replaces it with something else, and then I just added in something to say please submit another name. So if we do that again and click submit, there you go, changes again. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. With that being said, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is let's open up Unity. We're going to open up a new project. We're going to do a 2D scene, and you can name the project whatever you like. I'm just going to name it 2D get name. Okay, let's just name it get TextMesh Pro name. Okay, I'm going to hit create. Guys, just a disclaimer before we start. I do apologize about the sound quality of this video. I am in the market of looking for a better quality mic, so just bear with me. Awesome, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a canvas. So you would right click in your hierarchy area, go down to UI, go all the way down to canvas, select canvas. Okay, now you see you have a nice canvas here that you can display all your items on. So basically all your user interface items has to go onto a canvas, right? So that it could be displayed in your game view. So let me just bring my game view over here. Cool. The next thing you want to do is let's create a background. Okay, so the way I'm going to do it here is I'm going to create an image and then change the color of that image. So once again, I right click on canvas because I want it to be a child object of the canvas. So I go down to UI, click image, then I go to the right hand side here in my inspector, click on this. I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt and select this option. That's going to stretch it across the entire canvas. Then I'm going to go into my image properties, change the color. You can pick a color that you like. I'm just going to go with something like turquoise, something to that effect. Yeah, that looks about good. You can pick any color you like. Just going to zoom in on this a bit. Okay, let's just rename this, guys. It's good to rename everything just so if you are looking at this code or this project in the future, you know where everything is. So we're just going to rename this as background. Then in the canvas again, I want to add in a text that's going to say, please enter your name or please enter something, whatever you want the user to enter. So for that, I'm going to go to UI. I'm going to right click again on canvas, go to UI, and we're going to use something called TextMesh Pro. So the reason we're not using the standard Unity text it's because it's very blurry. So if I have to just show you quickly, let's just do 38. Okay, can you see that? If I zoom in, it gets very blurry. Not even if I zoom in, but I find it to be not so sharp, and like if you look here as well, not so sharp. Let me just compare that quickly to a TextMesh Pro text. So you have to click import TextMesh Pro Essentials. That import, and then we're going to do the bottom one as well. Okay, and then you can close that off. So I personally use this. As you can see the difference, if we zoom in here, this is the Text Mesh Pro that I use. Look how crisp and clear that is compared to the normal Unity text. So we can go ahead and delete that text that we're not going to use. Cool. So we can zoom out again. And we can name this as well, like ask user input, something like that. You can name it whatever you feel comfortable with. Then we're going to stretch that out. We're going to go into our inspector with the text selected. And then we're going to say, please, please enter your name. So something simple like that. Okay, and then you can design it however you feel comfortable. That looks fine to me. The next thing you want to do is you want to create a Text Mesh Pro input field. Okay, again, the reason that I'm using Text Mesh Pro is because it's much more, the text is much more rich and much more sharp. Okay, so we're going to go again, right click on canvas, I'll hover over UI, we're going to go all the way down to input field, Text Mesh Pro. Okay, once that is in there, we're going to go on, these are some of the tools that you can use in Unity that help you navigate and move things around. So this tool right here, you could grab the pointy ones and you can move it left, right, up, down. If you click the center button and you just expand on that, it enlarges it or changes the scale of it. And then if you grab one of these handles, you'll just change it on the x-axis or the y-axis. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to grab all the center, just change the entire scale, and we're just going to move it up a bit. That looks good. Okay, we're going to rename this as well. We're going to rename this to input field user, or let's do it as user input field. Okay, that's fine. The next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a button that's going to trigger our function. So let's do that. We're going to right click on canvas again because we want it to be a child of the canvas. We're going to go all the way down to button Text Mesh Pro. We're going to click the center and move it out, so that way changing the scale of the button just so that it's clear, nice and big and bold. Put it up there. Then we're going to click in your hierarchy. So this is your hierarchy on this side, and if you click on a object, on your right hand side is your inspector. So these are the values that you can play with to move it. You can change the color, you can change the hover color of the button, and you can just go crazy with whatever you want to do. So for now, I just want to change the text of this. So we're gonna expand on this button. Then you see it takes a text of Text Mesh Pro. So we're gonna target that. We're gonna click on that. We're gonna go into its inspector, and we're gonna say submit. Or you could put something like enter, or whatever you feel comfortable. I'm just gonna leave it as submit for now. Then we're gonna rename this to submit button. Then I'm just going to duplicate this. So to duplicate something in Unity 3D, we're going to right click on that and click duplicate. Then it becomes it duplicates in the same exact position. So if I click on the new duplicated button and then I just move it to your right hand side, you'll see it coming along. That's fine. We're going to rename this to reset button. Okay, we're going to change the name. So how we do that is we click on the reset button, expand it, grab hold of the text component, come down to your inspector, then you're going to type in reset. Awesome, that looks good. Okay, so that being done, we're going to need something now to display our text. After we enter the name, then we submit, we want to display it somewhere. So to do that, we can display it in a text field. So we will use, once again, TextMesh Pro text. So we can just say something like hello. So this is going to always be on the screen, and then the next value is going to be the one that's going to be dynamically changed um, with whatever we fill in here. And when we click submit, this is the value that's going to change. So let's add that first now. Before we do that, let's rename this to hello text. Then let's duplicate this. So right click, go to duplicate. Then remember I said it duplicates in the exact same position. So we just want to drag that over. Change the name of this to user name text, or whatever you like to call it. Then we're going to select the same one. We're going to go into the hierarchy, into the inspector, sorry, and we're going to just say this is where your name. Sorry guys, my typing seems to be way off today. Okay, and then what you want to do now is just next to the tool that gives you all of the access, if you click on the one to the left of it, this just gives you access to extend it. So you can extend it upwards, you can extend the text box to the right, you can extend it down so that more letters can fit into your box, right? Or more words can fit into your box. So we're going to leave it like that for now. Then maybe let's just change the color. So to change the color, we're going to click on the text. We're going to go down to vertex color in your inspector. And let's do something like orange. Once again, you can change it to whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay, let's just align this up there. Bring it more to your left just so that it's nice and aligned. Okay, cool. That looks good for now. Let's go ahead and create our script. So we're going to go, this is your assets, right? These are all your assets that's in your scene. We're going to right click, go create. First thing we're going to do is create a folder. So we're going to name this folder scripts. Okay, then we're going to double click on that folder to open it up. We're going to right click again. We're going to go create C# script. We're going to name it set name controller. Once again, you could name it whatever you feel comfortable with. Click enter. Then you're going to double click on it. And I'm using Visual Studio. You might be using MonoDevelop. It works both ways. So I'll double click. It's going to open up in Visual Studio 2019. Okay, so I'm not going to need a start function. As you can see, the start function is called before the first frame updates. I'm not going to need that because I want to instantiate my function when a button is clicked. I don't need the update as well because I don't need it running every frame. I just want it to be done when the submit button is clicked. So we can delete that as well. Something you need to know, we need to add the TextMesh Pro library so that we can use some of its components. So we can say using TM Pro. That looks good. Okay, so let's start with our function. Let's call it, so to create a function firstly in C# in Unity 3D, we would say something like public void, and then you give the name of your function. So in this case, it's going to be set name, or you could name it whatever you feel comfortable with. Then you got to create a block of code, which is opening curly brackets and a close curly brackets. Okay, you can save that. So to save, you could either press this icon on top, or you could press a shortcut Control and S together, and that saves your work. Okay, so let's start. First, let's create our variable. So if you think about it, we need a variable um, to store the input field so that we can get the value from the input field. then we need another value, a variable to store that value in, right? So we could create, this is how you create variables. So we'll say public, and then we need a text mesh pro variable. Okay, so we can say text mesh pro UGI. That's to get the text. That's going to store our actual name. Okay, so we can name this user name for now, just so that you can know what it is. And then, so let's create the input field variable. So we're going to say public tmp underscore input field, and we're going to name it user input field. Okay, so we go back in our function. Now we want to save the text from the input field into our variable called username. So we'll say username dot text, because we want to access the text component of it, is equal to user input field dot text, because we want that text component, remember that, right? And then close it off with a semicolon. We can hit save. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, you can just wait on the right hand side corner, you'll see it uploading. The next thing we need is a empty game object, or something to hold our script, okay? So that Unity knows where to reference stuff from. So we can right click in our hierarchy. We can go to create empty. Make sure you go to the right hand side here, click three small dots and reset. Okay, so that it's nice and set up, so you won't have issues in the future. Then we can rename this to just say name controller. You can name it whatever you want again. Then we're going to drag and drop our script onto the name controller, and then you'll see on the right hand side our two variables that we created in the C# script. So one is a username, which takes in a text mesh pro UGI, which means that it takes in a text. So it'll either take in one of these, okay? And the next one is a user input field. This takes in a text mesh pro input field, which means it'll take in an input field like this, okay? So we need to drag and drop our variables into here so that Unity knows which objects it references to which variable, okay? And then it links up with the code to execute. So let's do the first one, username. So where do we want to display our username? That's what we're going to drag in here, okay? So we said this is the text that we want to dynamically change when we click this button. So let's find this text. It's username. We know that it's username text. We're going to click name controller. We're going to drag username text, and you see it would do that. It would take it. If I had to put the text into this bottom place, it wouldn't take it. So let's try that just to show you quickly. You see how it says like not allowed? So that could help you as well, so you know where to put what. The next thing we need to put is we need to reference our input field in here. So we know our input field is user input field. So let's drag that, drop it in there. Okay, I think we're good to go. So this button on top is to run your application, and then you're going to see your game view. So this is your game view, okay? This is your scene view where you do all your work and all your fun stuff, creative stuff, and this is where you actually see the stuff work. So we're going to click play. Okay, it's playing. If you click there, you see we can now enter our name. My name is Jason, so I'm just going to enter Jason, and hopefully we click this and something happens, but it's not going to work, and I'll tell you why. So let's click submit. You see, nothing happens. Let me tell you why. That's because we need to reference this button or tell this button to call a specific function when it's being clicked. So we go to the button, we go to its inspector all the way down, and on the onClick event, we add an onClick event. We reference our controller just because the script is on the controller, so we reference that. Then we tell it, okay, this is my script name, set name controller, And in my script name, I have a function called setName, and that's what I want to execute when I click the button submit. Okay, now everything should work. So we click play, enter my name Jason, click submit, and there you go. Our text changes to Jason. Okay, cool. Now let's hook up the reset button. Okay, once again, we're going to go to our code. Let's just neaten that up. So we're going to create a function to reset the name, okay? So we do this public void reset name, open curly, close curly. And then we know that when we get a name from the input field, we're storing it in this variable, right? Now, when I click reset, I want this variable to change. So let's do that. So we'll say that variable user underscore name dot text is equal to, if I wanted to set it back to nothing, right? So if I click submit and I want the name to vanish completely, I could just put opening opening quotes, close quotes, and close it off with a semicolon. And let me show you what would happen. Okay, so obviously, remember we need to hook this button up. So we click the button, we go into its inspector, we go down to the on-click event, add on-click event. Now remember our script is on this game object, this empty game object. Drag that all over down there. Then we're going to say, what is our script name? Set name controller. What function do we want to call now? We don't want to call the set name function. Now we want to call the reset name function. So we click that and let's click play. Okay, so now if we enter our name, submit. Now when I click reset, I'm expecting this to disappear. Okay, nothing to be stored in here. And that's what it does, so that's working fine. So now let's enter something like, please can you enter your name again. Cool, let's save that. Let's go back to Unity. Okay, now if we click play, put in my name again, click submit. Now when I click reset, I'm expecting this name or this text field to change and say, please enter your name. So let's do that. And as you can see, it changes. Please can you enter your name again? Okay, that's it guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned a lot. In the future tutorials, we're going to be building up slowly from beginner phase and we're going to get there slowly, okay? We're going to be working on some really cool projects in the future, so stay tuned. Cheers.